Okay, so let's get right into it, because we're looking at one of the weirdest puzzles in the economy right now. On one hand, you hear it all the time, this desperate global scramble for talented people. But then, on the other hand, all you see are headlines about massive layoffs, especially in tech. So, how can both of these things be true at the exact same time? Well, that's the paradox we're going to unpack right now. First things first, let's just be clear about the stakes here. This isn't just some abstract business problem. Experts pretty much all agree that a country's entire economic future really depends on its workforce. If you don't have the right people with the right skills, economic growth just grinds to a halt. It's the most fundamental resource there is, and the competition for it is absolutely fierce. And that question brings us right back to the heart of the problem. If skilled people are so valuable, so essential, then why in the world are we seeing over 1 million job cuts? It just doesn't seem to add up, right? So let's start breaking down what's really going on. Okay, let's look at the first side of this coin, the talent shortage. And you have to understand, this isn't just companies fighting over employees. No, this is a full-blown global hunt where entire nations are competing to attract the world's best and brightest. Think of it like this. For a long time, the US has been this giant magnet for talent, pulling in over half of all migrating inventors and Nobel laureates. But now, other countries are building their own powerful magnets. Places like the UK, Canada, and Australia are launching these really ambitious programs to try and pull that top-tier talent over to their shores instead. So the desire to win this race is there, but the actual process, it gets bogged down. The biggest obstacle, by far, is just a tangled mess of bureaucracy. Visa policies are often a total maze. They're complex, they're always changing, and they create huge headaches for both the companies and the brilliant people they're trying to hire. And just look at this. This is a super simplified version of the process for just one country, the UK. Every single one of these boxes is a potential delay, a mountain of paperwork, a point where the whole thing could just fall apart. It's this months-long marathon of administrative hurdles you have to clear before you can even think about issuing a contract. And this isn't just me saying it's complicated. Experts have said the system is confusing for everybody, even the lawyers and professionals who get paid to figure this stuff out. And that confusion has real costs. Get this, one major university had to spend £1 million a year just to outsource the whole process because they were worried they couldn't even handle it in-house. That one story tells you everything you need to know about how tough this talent race can be. So you've got this intense global competition for people slowed way down by red tape. Okay, now let's flip the coin and look at the other side of this paradox, the shocking numbers behind the layoffs. Just take a second to let that number sink in. Nearly 1.1 million jobs. That's how many cuts were announced in just the first 10 months of the year. This is the highest we've seen since 2020, and it's a jaw-dropping 65% jump from last year. This is not a small adjustment. This is a massive shift happening. And when you look at where these cuts are coming from, it gets even more surprising. Look at what's at the very top of the list. The technology sector. The one industry you'd think would be hoarding all the talent it can get is actually leading the pack by a huge margin. We're talking over 141,000 job cuts so far. So what gives? Well, according to experts like Andy Challenger, sure, part of it is a correction after a crazy hiring boom during the pandemic. But he points to something much, much bigger, the adoption of AI. It's forcing companies to completely rethink and restructure their workforces. And that, right there, that is the key that unlocks this whole paradox. And this is where it all starts to make sense. The talent shortage and the mass layoffs, they aren't actually contradictory. They are two sides of this same exact coin. And that coin is artificial intelligence. This isn't about jobs simply disappearing. It's about a massive reshuffling of what those jobs even are. So here it is, the solution to the puzzle. AI is the one force big enough to cause both of these trends at the same time. It's making some roles redundant, sure, but it's also creating this incredible, unprecedented demand for a totally new set of skills. The entire workforce is being reshaped. And this totally flies in the face of that old robots are taking our jobs fear. Research from the Linux Foundation shows that AI is actually having a net positive effect on hiring. As you can see, it's projected to create more jobs than it gets rid of, and that positive trend is only expected to grow. So the global talent shortage, it never went away. It just changed.
The problem isn't that there's a lack of people. The problem is there's a lack of people with the right skills. The old war for talent has become a very specific, very intense war for AI talent.
This chart shows us exactly where the new front lines are. An incredible 68% of companies say they're understaffed in AI and machine learning. And right behind it are all the related fields, cybersecurity, cloud computing. Companies are absolutely desperate for people who can build, manage, and secure these new AI-powered systems. The story of IBM is the perfect example of this great reshuffle in action. Think about this. In the same breath that the company says it's going to replace thousands of jobs with AI, its CEO also announces a massive plan to upskill its entire workforce on AI. That's the new playbook right there. Automate what you can and retrain everyone for the new reality. And that big strategic shift points to the new golden rule in business. When you're facing a shallow pool of talent and a ridiculously complex hiring process, companies are realizing it's just better, faster, and smarter to build the talent they need from the people they already have. And the numbers make it a no-brainer. I mean, just look at the timeline. Hiring a new tech employee and getting them up to speed takes over 8 months. It's a long, slow process. But upskilling an existing employee for a new role, just over 5 months. It's just flat out faster. And there's another huge piece of this puzzle: risk. After you go through that long, expensive 8-month hiring process, guess what? Almost 1 out of every 5 new hires leaves within 6 months. That is an incredible amount of wasted time, money, and energy. Upskilling someone who already gets your company's culture, it's just a much, much safer bet. And this isn't some pie-in-the-sky theory. It is exactly what companies are doing right now. When you ask them how they're planning to bring AI into their business, what's the #1 strategy? Upskilling their existing workforce. Almost half of them say that's their top priority, more than hiring new people, more than anything else. So let's put it all together. When you do, you can really see the new landscape of work starting to take shape. The rules of the game, the rules of the talent race, they have completely changed. The great talent paradox finally makes sense when you realize the very meaning of talent is different now. It's not about your degree anymore or how many years of experience you have on paper. Today, the most valuable thing you can have is the ability to pick up new skills, adapt to new tech, and just keep on learning. And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. As we're all trying to figure out our own careers, we have to ask the same question that these huge companies are asking themselves. In a world that's constantly being remade by AI, what really makes you valuable? Is it the stuff you know right now? Or is it how fast you can learn what's coming next?